Connect Europe is a project that brings us together around the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights, which is basically an instrument we all need to have in mind when we discuss Europe and when we discuss the life of citizens, women and men.
Many people doesn't know what the Charter contains and possibilities Charter opens to each citizen.
We're here in Helsinki at the home of the European Council presidency. We're discussing dignity here in Helsinki.
I talk about national performance framework around the world and people are astonished that we use words like dignity. We should all treat each other with dignity. It isn't something that can be imposed top down. We have to recognise that's a societal issue.
One person's definition of dignity could be completely different from someone else's.
Good welfare is dignity for me.
Well, it's really related to humanity.
I hadn't heard about the Charter of Human Rights before. Actually, I think that people should be given these leaflets because its very existence makes you think about what it says.
Dignity is not enough in the society today.
I think if the states do not take this responsibility, no one will do anyway.
The EU has a commitment to end with the gender pay gap and also that the EU can introduce what we call the positive measures to make sure the underrepresented sex is there in all decision making. So parity, it's a key issue.
You won't be surprised that equality means to me first and foremost, but not only, equality between women and men.
Having exactly the same opportunities.
Regardless of gender, of sexuality, of race or anything else.
The question of equality is what prevents wars, what prevents violence.
I think that we all have a responsibility to work for those things and to contribute to creating a society where everyone will be able to benefit from it in the same way.
We are here in Gdańsk for the Connect Europe project for the Solidarity chapter, because we believe that there is no better place in Europe to talk about the solidarity than to talk about it here when the solidarity movement actually started and when the peaceful revolution and peaceful movement in the continent started.
Solidarity means action. Solidarity means when you come together and do something that is hard to overcome. What rights do you have, and fighting for them when they're not given to you, and fighting not only for yourself but for other people to have rights as well.
Solidarity is a political expression of love.
Together we stand, divided we fall.
I was really shocked when I found out how secrecy is practiced on all political levels at the EU.
When we adopted the Charter and the Treaty of Lisbon over 10 years ago now, the inquiry committee is in there as a right for the European Parliament, where we can start a committee that can inquire something that went wrong in the administration. But the Council has been basically blocking the Parliament proposal under this change of treaty for ever since.
I think it's so shocking that transparency is the fundament of democracy. Only if I know what's going on, I can build my own opinion. That's what you have to keep in mind, and control our government.
It's a collage of basically different freedom fighters, how I would call them, activists I know who are very active in the scene, working on giving more rights and freedoms, especially to people also paying respect to, for example, refugees and so on, who are trying to reach more freedom.
And I focused on individual people and like representing faces, because I think when I'm thinking about like solidarity or like policy changes or like unions, it's really abstract, while in the detail it's really about people's lives being affected. So
right now, when we are in when human rights are being challenged across the globe with this, very much the same agenda everywhere, and sort of the odd complexity that we are standing in the middle of is that we challenge human rights to protect human rights, protecting the right to life, the right to health, and then carving in on other rights as well.
We've also witnessed a disproportionate impact of the pandemic and its consequences on racial and ethnic minorities. And in many cases, this is due to pre-existing inequalities.
Many refugees and migrants lost their jobs and because of the lockdown, and they have no claim to unemployment and social benefits. And as a result, many among them have found or will soon find themselves on the street.
The fact that we still have great inequalities between men and women, inequalities about wages, inequalities as far as achieving positions of policy making is concerned, and so forth and so forth. This was there already, but somehow this crisis just made it more sharp.
The facts are, as we've heard today, that countries like Hungary and Poland, they are removing the rights of their populations and they are reducing the power of judges to hold them to account.
So the whole country, I would say, it's in a self-help mode, and we are organizing and we're sewing masks and buying equipment and collecting money and providing help to doctors and nurses and their families and so on, while the state is using the pandemic to restrict our rights. So we don't have freedom of speech anymore. It's especially painful for the doctors and nurses who are legally forbidden to speak about the situations on the virus, which means that we have no information about the scale of the coronavirus crisis.
If we say that what these countries are doing is wrong, then we should also look at stopping the EU financing to these countries.
In my view, the Charter of Fundamental Rights is basically the most modern human rights instrument that we have, not only in Europe but globally.
And the point I would like to make here is that if states had prioritized progress on the Sustainable Development Goals and the recommendations from the international human rights mechanisms, the pandemic would not have hit these groups so hard as it has.
Noget af det, man har lært siden finanskrisen i de 10 år, der er gået, det er jo, at man jo meget tidligt skal prøve at slå en økonomisk krise ned, så den ikke udvikler sig til en form for recession, meget dyb recession med arbejdsløshed og social ulykke. Og man skal forhindre det tidligt. Og det gør man faktisk ved at komme med rigtig, rigtig mange penge i sækken. Og det er det, som EU-kommissionen er i gang med nu. Og man kan diskutere alle mulige små perspektiver af det, og Danmarks samlede omkostning i forhold til det. Men lige nu så er det faktisk vigtigt bare at få vores europæiske fællesskab på fod igen. Og så skal man nok finde ud af en måde at betale regningen senere.
Equal rights and equal access to the rights all around Europe, all around the world.